Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. So today we have Debra Shepard with Light Up Literature Curriculum and Keisha Blaine. We're going to be talking about engaging kids in curriculum. This is a question that gets asked a lot in our group, especially around the topics of math and reading. People want to know, how do I not have to fight with my kids to get them to do schoolwork? How do I make them excited about it? And we're going to be talking about some tips and tricks that we have, as well as some advice on how to be able to make your curriculum work a little bit better for you, so you're having to work, you're working with your kids instead of against them. Thank you guys for joining us.
Oh, no problem.
Of course.
So I wanted to start by asking, what are your tips for engaging kids in curriculum? Debra, why don't you go ahead and start?
So my biggest tip for engaging kids in curriculum, one, let's say you have a curriculum and they're not loving it, and I know we're going to get into that later, but you don't have to use it just the way it's doing. Pull in one of the things they are actually interested in and have them explain how this doesn't work for that or how it does match up with that. That way they're engaging with the curriculum, but getting to have their own voice. And this is really good to help them take ownership of their learning and be more engaged and have more communication that's very colloquial, but it's also very educational at the same time, where they think they're just having a conversation, but they're actually learning. And so that's a win.
I'd have to agree on that because, you know, you can handle learning through play. So, you know, you can include that instead of actual curriculum, which we actually did. So it's all like life skill type, but in a fun way. But
So
online classes are great though too.
yeah, I definitely have to agree. Online classes can be really helpful to be able to really assist kids in getting them really engaged in the curriculum. Sometimes just having a break from what you're doing, and trying a different way of learning, especially if your kid is more of a visual learner. Maybe worksheets don't work as well for them, and they need something that's a little bit more visual. They need someone who's explaining it to them, and that can be really helpful, especially if it's a topic that you don't like either. Being able to delegate that to someone who is really passionate about it can help your kid to engage with that topic, and get really excited about it.
Right. And also with like elective type things that your kiddo is really interested in.
I would
So
also add that, oh, I'm sorry, I did not mean
go,
to cut you off, sweetheart.
you're fine. Go ahead.
I would also add, hit the dollar store and get some of those paddles with the dry erase paddles. So even when they're reading whatever curriculum they're working, or even if it's math or English, whatever subject, this is like universal, it works for everything. They can write their comments or emoji if you really want to get them on, like, especially I work more with middle school, like 4th through 8th specifically, and I do work with a few high schoolers. So when you really engage with that, let them have multiple ways to express themselves, especially if they're in a group.
Mm,
That will definitely give them a moment to have like a cool way to interact, but it's not pressured, and they can be goofy about it but still get their point across. And as the homeschool parent or the homeschool teacher, you know if they got it or not.
right.
So
I totally agree with that.
So the next question that we get a lot is, how do I customize a curriculum to engage my kids? So let's say that you have a curriculum that really is very worksheet heavy, or it's very focusing on a specific learning style. Maybe you have multiple kids that have different learning styles. How do you customize that curriculum? How do you add to that curriculum to be able to get your kids to be interested in it? I know, one of the things that, some of my experience is, math wasn't my favorite subject. Um, so one of the ways that we kind of customized it and made it more fun is we would do real world math. So we would use the same math problems that were on the worksheet, but it would be things with cooking, or maybe we'd have some like chocolate covered raisins that we'd have to do the math problem with. being able to take it outside of the context of a worksheet that can get stressful sometimes, and being able to have something that's hands-on can help for kids that maybe are struggling with that subject. What do you
Yeah,
guys see?
I totally agree with that because it's like you could learn through life skills. You know, everybody needs to know about cooking or anything, so you can mix math in with cooking or etc.
So I love that. I think that's great. One of the ways I primarily work with ADHD kiddos, and that's not a one size fit all situation, right? So I like to have games. Use the worksheets and the answers and go to WordWall or Kahoot. Plug that stuff in. Make your life easier. The kids think they're playing games and they know that they're working, but they're having a good time. I I'm launching. Not that this. Never mind. But make your own board game. Those are Those are the playing cards. When they hit that spot, they have to play. They have to pick up that card and answer it. If there's, especially if you have multiple kids in a family, that's a great way to have a family game night or a family game day where it's a review. Use that curriculum, use what's good about it, convert it to what your kiddos need. If it's math, use it as a math game. If it's English or science or whatever it is, use that. Or go on to like Chat GPT and see if they can help generate some ideas for how you can, like, if you need a diagram, say it's science, get them to do an AI generation of a diagram of something and play like operation. You have a blank fish or a blank whatever, and then they have to put the parts where they belong. Customize it. If it's a cell, put all the parts between the animal cell and a plant cell. You have all the parts in the center. Which one goes where? Things like that. Like, have fun with it. And that way it takes the stress off. They're learning and they're having a good time, and it's less stressful.
Yeah, unit studies, creating your own unit study is fun too.
Oh, yeah.
Because we are like an auto racing family, so we go around to different racetracks. Like right now, NASCAR is in NHRA. Before it was, we were going around, going to different street outlaw events like Memphis Street Outlaws or Oklahoma Street Outlaws. So my
On a
daughter,
side note,
go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
no, on a side note, I love Memphis Street Outlaws. I'm just saying.
We actually met JJ and his whole crew, and my daughter's first opportunity to like work for somebody else. She was his assistant, so she was going around taking pictures and all that. But I do have a image on my Facebook that I can share with you guys, so you can see that she is actually with uh, JJ and her.
That is so awesome. And what better learning experience is real experience? I mean, that's so awesome, especially if you're into that field. That's just the best.
And the first Street Outlaws event we went to was in Owensboro, which
Oh,
is
I know what that's at.
I think like 45 minutes away from us because I'm in Louisville. And we met some friends up there, and we do the VIP event because you get better access to them and it's not as crowded. So they had a pot to where you could sign up for JJ Arm Drop rides. So I was able to win a ride in zip tie for the first time.
Sweet.
And I think the next time or the time after that, my daughter, she uh, won it, but she gave it to her dad to go. And I think he ran with JJ with the Old Heavy.
Oh, Old Heavy. I'm surprised. I'm surprised she let him use Old Heavy. But
Yeah.
I think that's awesome, and that's how we make real learning
Yes.
real and
Yes.
applicable. It's not like this theoretical thing that I have to do. I have to get so many hours. I have to knock this out. This is how you make it real, and that's why we homeschool anyway.
Right.
So
Of
we
course.
can enjoy all of these awesome moments. I'm so happy for you and your family.
Yeah.
Actually, my husband is from Kentucky. I
Oh.
have an aunt in Owensboro.
Oh, awesome.
So, okay, sorry. I know we got off on
Oh,
a tangent
yeah,
there.
we got off on a tangent.
No, I think it's great. So I just wanted to say hi to Nettie Jenkins. She's joining us live, and Tina Arizona. Thanks, guys, for joining us live. Tina had a really great point I wanted to share that was in the comments. She said that for her, interest-based learning is the key to a child's success. If a child's interested in a topic, they're going to be more productive on that topic than a subject that they're forced to do. So besides the curriculum they use, they integrate life skills like financial literacy, gardening, cleaning, cooking, baking, and with all these life skills you're teaching, you can incorporate math, science, history. I think that's a really great point. I totally agree.
Oh, yeah.
I think that that's actually kind of what you guys were talking about, kind of dovetails right into how do you convince kids that math or science or history or whatever subject is their tough subject is necessary and maybe make it fun. This is something I get a lot in the group where somebody's like, my middle schooler has decided he doesn't need any more math skills, or he's decided he's going to pursue a field with no math. How do I convince him to do math anyway? So what do you guys suggest for topics? I personally find that using them in the real world, for me, that was the key to unlocking math. I interned with a couple different companies, and I used math in the real world, and so I saw how it was applicable, and I was able to actually practice the skills instead of it just being a worksheet that I just was, I didn't connect with those as much because I felt like I was like, okay, but why am I having to do 2 pages of math? I'm not doing anything productive. But when I had to calculate prices for an e-commerce store, I was like, okay, I get this. And then I did way more math problems when I was doing something in the real world than worksheet. So what do you guys do?
Probably, my daughter, she goes to the grocery store with her dad because he does all the grocery store pickups. And we also have a Walgreens basically back in our backyard. So, like, we send her we'll go, to the store and get stuff. But most of the time we use a, credit card. But we, like, give her our excess change from, like, if we have a 20 and we get change back, we just give it to her so she can have it for her stash. But when she wants to go there and get something, we tell her, just use cash so you can get the understanding of change, because really a credit card isn't really giving you much actual math skill because you're just swiping a card. So
I think that's a great idea. I was definitely going to say, take them shopping. My other, guess what? When it's a sale on, I need you to calculate that down to tell me how much it's going to cost.
right, of course, yeah.
How much am I actually saving? Yeah, it's 75% off, but how much am I saving? If it's only $2 and I'm saving 75%, am I saving? Is it really worth purchasing if we don't need it right now?
Right.
And that's where you apply the real life skill. Like, yeah, it's on sale. It's got the bright, shiny colors, but that's on the end cap. Should we check the other things? So things like that. I would also say if it's math or English, I would definitely do a DIY project.
Yes.
DIY because you have them build something. You've got the instructions where they have to measure all of that. Then you have the reading side too. So then you have the reading part of it. And if they don't like the instructions, all right, you build it. Now I need you to write better instructions so that we can have Johnny or Jane do this and do the same thing, and you can help them and you can show them how to do it.
Right.
Then you can use the history, depending on what you're building. If you're building a bird box, you can tie in science with that. What type of science? What type of, whatever you're using, go to the next level. Like, okay, well, what do we need to do? Do we need to consider if it's outdoors, do we need to consider rain, the elements? If we paint it, do we need to worry about if animals are going to get sick because of what we painted? Who was the first one who started doing this? And then you've got your history connection. Like, depending on what they need to be interested in or to power through to get them to see we need these skills, that's how you dig in. And that way they can see some real world, and then they're going to be like, well, I'm never going to do this. I'm not in construction. My daughter she wanted to go to construction because she's good in math. Now she's my virtual assistant. Okay, but she was like, I don't want to do this. I don't like reading. So finally we started picking out movies that she liked, and we would read the novels, and then we'd have a compare contrast movie marathon with the movies. You know what? Think out of the box. Let your kids have fun learning. You got, and also, like, pick your non-negotiables. Like, these are my non-negotiables. This is going to happen. And so, what do you think? Since we got to do this, and this, how do you want to do it? What do you think? That gets them back into that ownership where they feel a part of the conversation versus being told, you're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing this.
Right. And also, I know there's video games out there all the time, but have them focus on an educational game or make it an educational type. Like my daughter and husband, they play online poker, so she learns math type stuff through poker with the cards, or like she was into Pokemon back when she thought it was popular, and Minecraft. So she does a lot of learning through playing games here and there.
And even if you have, I love that, because even if you have a kiddo, excuse me, sorry about that, a kiddo who is older, who just wants to play video games, we're like, okay, you can play video games, but we're going to do this psychology evaluation of the people you're playing with. That way, there's still some learning, and then they're also learning something that's like important to life. People skills, how people react to certain things. Make a plan. I'm going to mess up on this one thing and see how my team reacts.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
So the next question that I have is, should you ditch a curriculum if it doesn't work for your kid? And also along with that, how long should you stay the course before switching to something else? What is your guys' opinion?
Maybe a month.
I come from a different point of view. I'm like, if it's not working, take the good out of it and recreate it. Just do what has historically worked. Try something new. And another thing, you give them their curriculum, whatever they're supposed to work out, and tell them, this is so boring. Oh my goodness. Let's redo this. You jump on Canva, make a better worksheet, because this one's lame. And just be real with them. Be like, okay, this is not working for us. How about you go and create a new worksheet? Because if they can create it and make the work and make the answer key, guess what? They have the skill already. That's another win where they're taking ownership and they're getting to be creative. So that's
I totally agree.
Yeah, I hate to. I've got like a gajillion curriculums from when I was teaching constantly public school and my daughter, and I was like, okay, I go through, I take what's good and I recreate it so it works for us. And that's why I use different different types of books for different types of things, because some things are really good in this and that's great, but that's not going to take care of everything.
Right.
So another comment from Tina. She says, one of the beautiful things about homeschooling is finding out your children's learning styles and having them do their work based on learning styles, whether that's worksheets, ongoing curriculum, unit studies, learning outdoors, game schooling, books and novels and movies, like you were saying. Interest-based learning empowers children to have control of what they want to learn and gives them accountability. I definitely agree with that, Tina. Thanks for jumping in here. So that kind of actually dives right into the next question is, how do you cater to each child's learning style? If you have one curriculum, what are some ways that you can be able to expand it so that it can be able to work with different learning styles? We're talking about like the visual learners, that's like, they need lots of pictures, or the writing learners, they need to be able to read it, or be able to speak it. And then we also have the kinesthetic learners who need to do something with it. They need to learn hands-on, or they need to be taught by someone hands-on.
I don't know. I guess mine focuses on interest-led learning. So we haven't used the actual one curriculum. We've done online classes. When she was smaller, it was, books from a local store, workbooks. So I don't know. I don't really have an actual answer for that.
So my answer isn't going to be a popular answer. When I was a public school teacher, I'd have 30 to 35 kids in a classroom. It's just me. And what I found to be the best is you focus on your 3 things that everyone's going to do no matter what. For me, ELA, the first 10 minutes of class, we do vocabulary. And there's a vocabulary program that I love to use, and we have vocabulary games, and I create games for that. I don't care which one they're doing, and I made sure that I could track all of what they were doing, so I could see that they were working and not YouTubing it or whatever. I arranged the desk so I could see all screens all times, and then we would go into our next thing, and I would have little stations, and it would be on a timer. All right, you've got 10 minutes to work on this. We'd have independent stations, we'd have group stations, we'd have a station where there's a computer and we're researching, or we're doing something on a computer. That way, it's all the same type of learning skill, but it's kind of chunked up. And that way you're meeting multiple needs, but it doesn't look like, oh, we have to do this for so-and-so, or we have to do this for so-and-so. It looks like that's our system. This is how we're going to do it. Like, we're just going to have, and it doesn't have to be every day. I did it 3 times a week. We had that station situation in classroom. And I always made sure that the hardest thing was the station where I was at the table with them. So they would have a refresher, they would have a pre-work, they would have a think and discuss, they would have a computer station, and then they would have a me station. And that's how we did it. And that was also after an overall mini lesson, kind of going over it first with everybody, and then we break into our groups. So in a homeschool classroom, it's like, okay, everyone, we have one room, we've got our arts and crafts kind of visual learning there. We've got our audio book situation here. We've got our computer game here. Something that each one of the kiddos are going to enjoy, that is really specifically for them. But everybody's getting it, because the more times they hear, any student, the more times they hear, see, and work with something, the more they're going to retain and build from.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my suggestion. It's a lot of work. It feels like a lot of work, but it is absolutely rewarding.
And also, their parents can quiz them, like my daughter and her dad. I don't know, they come up with wild words or whatever, and she's like, that's not a real word, and he's like, look it up, and it'll be actually something real, and she's like, no way.
See, that's awesome.
I definitely agree. I think what I've found is if you can stay with a curriculum for at least 3 months before deciding that it doesn't work for you, try to customize it for each of your kids' learning styles. If you don't know their learning style, definitely spend some time paying attention to what really sticks for your kid when you're telling them the lesson or they have online classes. If they go and do independent work with a worksheet, and you ask them about the topic that they learned, figure out what style works best for them, and then see if you can find a way to be able to take your history class or your science topic and, like Debra was saying, do it in different ways. A lot of people find learning styles a bit controversial because nobody is 100% one learning style. And rather than saying learning styles aren't valid, I would say, like you were saying, multiple different ways of learning something is the best way to learn it because you're able to really reinforce that. And so let's say that I'm 75%, I'm going to learn better reading something. But there's still that, if I really want true mastery, and that's what we're really looking for in homeschooling, if you want true mastery, being able to watch a documentary about the subject and read a book and then do a hands-on activity, you're going to own that.
Mm.
And remember, it doesn't have to all be done in one day or one setting.
Right.
Like, stretch it out. Don't cram, 6 hours of work in one day. Stretch it out. Let them percolate on that situation and think about it. You'll be so amazed at what they come up with.
Right.
So how do you guys incentivize kids to want to do their schoolwork? I know we talked a little bit about helping them have choices with interest-based learning. We've talked about figuring out their learning style to help them to be able to understand the subject better so they feel more empowered about what they're learning. What are your guys's, do you guys have any suggestions for like rewards or anything like that? I've mentioned my mom would do, M&M math, chocolate covered raisins, things like that.
See?
You got the answer right. You got to eat chocolate covered raisins. So it can be something simple.
I don't know. When my daughter was little, she's 15 now. We would do a lot of outdoor, like when the weather was good, we were always learning outside. So even taking a workbook outside or using that along with nature to learn.
So my daughter hated to read. Hated to read. Love math, excellent in math, always above grade level in math. Hated to read. And I'm the English teacher, right? So I'm like, all right, girl, you ain't got to love it, but you got to do it. So we would build in, like, okay, if you score X on X amount, which 70 was the lowest she could score on anything. If she scored 70, then she would have a little bit more work to do. If she scored 80 or 90, then she would have either at 80 she would have a choice on something else to do that was related but something she was interested in. And if it was 90 or above, I was like, okay. I was like, you're done with this, we're good to go. We would still circle back later on and make sure that we still were sitting at that 90% mastery level. But if they're doing it and they know what they have to get, guess what? When you tell them this is the requirement to get this reward or this option, they're laser focused on that. Mm-hmm. So make sure you set your standards high to what you want, what is acceptable for you and your family, and build in. They get the choice. Listen, if you get this, then you get to go do this. You know what? Friday night was our movie night. If she brought home anything below a B during school year, I was like, nope. Friday night movie night. And it was just us at the house binging a movie, eating popcorn, and just junk food out because I didn't keep a lot of junk food in the house. That was her reward. If she was on the good side of things. If she was on the bad side of things, I'm like, all right, no TV. You're not getting any of that. Well, Mom, then what are you going to do? Well, I'll sit right here with you. I don't watch TV, so I don't care. I'm like, we can do it together, baby. You want me to read to you? You want to partner read? You want to do something like, and then they'll get into, so that they're not bored out of their mind, they'll come up with something that they may not love to do, but they'll do with you just so they're doing something. And then that's when, oh, well, you want to go build something outside. You want to go, you want to cook something. Do you want me to teach you how to do this? You want to teach me how to do this? Can you show me how to do this? And then, so if they are on the negative side, let's not like be like dogmatic. I mean, I was very strict to my rules, but you have, create learning experiences that are still fun in that situation. But that way they know I didn't get to do what I wanted, but I still had a pretty cool time. So that's how that was the reward system. It was kind of that's how we did it. And then like special gifts, if they were having a test, if she was having a test day or whatever, we'd go for Starbucks in the morning. And if she did good, we'd like go have pizza or the $2 movie. We'd take the day off on $2 movie day and go do that. Like little things that are affordable, but to kids, it means a lot to them.
Right. And also volunteering is good too, because we're actually my husband, he's a retired truck driver, but now we manage a apartment complex for the disabled. So my daughter now, she takes out garbage for a few of them and gets like $20 a month. So like volunteering and receiving money for it, but you're still learning because you're accumulating money, each month. Because like even today, she was like, I get about $240 a year for taking out trash. So how much money how much do you think I will have to pay back on taxes?
That's awesome.
Taxes at the end of the year.
That's so awesome.
Ours is more learning, hands-on learning and interest-led learning than curriculum. Even though that she's done like online, she thought that was kind of iffy because sometimes you have like the internet not working right with everybody and this and that. So it's just all around learning. Whichever style you want to use and method, go for it. Just to enjoy the journey.
I think that we've gone over a lot of great topics, and I think this was a really great roundtable. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. I hope that everybody finds this super helpful. If you guys are watching the replay, go ahead and leave any comments with any questions that you have, and we would be happy to continue to answer them over the next couple of days. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us live, and I look forward to seeing you on the next roundtable next month.
Awesome.
All righty. Catch you later.